Y&R Spoilers Next week reveals that May in Genoa City always has a different vibe, as if all the secrets, ambitions, and grudges come to the surface as summer begins. This year, Nikki's birthday party should have been a peaceful moment, where members of the Newman family and close friends gathered to honor the woman who has been through so much, but things took a sudden and dangerous turn. The unexpected appearance of uninvited guests broke all the rules, leading to a series of dramatic events that shook Genoa City. But all of this was just the surface of a much deeper sweep, because beneath the waves of turmoil were conspiracies, betrayals, and revenge, dragging all the powerful families into a harsh vortex. From the moment Victor Newman decided to throw this big party for Nikki, everyone felt the weight of the atmosphere. No one was sure whether this would be a peaceful night or a new stage for confrontation. Victor, although still a devoted husband, had never given up on his desire to control everything. With a nature that refused to accept defeat, Victor always wanted to prove his strength and authority, especially to those who had betrayed or challenged him. And once Victor had the intention of revenge, all moral boundaries seemed to be erased. Lauren Fenmore recognized those undercurrents very clearly. She had always been the one who understood Michael the most, the husband who, out of duty to Victor, had repeatedly put himself and his family in danger. Many times, Lauren and Michael had to face tense arguments, from sleepless nights of worry to days of living in suspicion. Lauren never wanted Michael to get too deeply involved in the missions that Victor assigned, especially when she felt that she and her children could become targets of the dangerous forces that Victor had enmity with. As time went on, every time Michael took on a new assignment, Lauren had to try to suppress her anxiety and find a way out for both of them. Genoa City has never been a peaceful place, but rarely has chaos erupted as suddenly and brutally as on Nikki Newman's birthday, an elaborately prepared event, seemingly filled with smiles, blessings and glittering lights of the upper class. But fate, as well as the dark conspiracies that always lurk around the Newman family, chose this moment to raise the curtain on a tragic drama, where all the masks are stripped away and deadly secrets are exposed in the cold light of danger. From early on, Victor Newman sensed something unusual in the air. He had been through too many storms, enough to recognize strange signs from the eyes and gestures of those around him. However, because he wanted to give Nikki a truly special and warm night, Victor still tried to keep a calm appearance, welcoming each guest with a friendly smile mixed with his inherent authority. Nikki, though used to the events, still felt Victor's special concern for her and secretly hoped that the party would go smoothly. But all those fragile hopes were torn apart in a fateful blink of an eye. As the music died down to make way for Nikki's speech, an unexpected figure quietly appeared. Aristotle Dumas, with his cold demeanor and sharp eyes, like a ghost rushed into the crowd of happy people, bringing a cold wind and a feeling of insecurity to everyone. None of the guests dared to speak or stop him, because just by a glance, they could realize that this was not a chance or goodwill appearance. Dumas walked straight towards Victor, without hesitation, without mercy, like a sworn enemy demanding a blood debt in broad daylight. All eyes were on them, fearful whispers crept through every corner, but no one could stop Dumas' footsteps. Victor, though no longer in his prime, still stood firm, facing the murderous gaze that was pouring towards him. Years of wandering in the business world and fighting countless enemies had forged his steely will, but in that moment, even Victor could not have foreseen Dumas' reckless action. In an instant, a pistol appeared in Dumas' hand, the cold barrel pointed straight at Victor, causing everything to freeze in the air. Nikki almost collapsed in fear, a shrill scream echoed throughout the banquet hall. Everyone rushed to find a place to hide, some guests collapsed, others panicked and tried to escape. Panic immediately took over, turning the luxurious party into a living hell in the blink of an eye. Security quickly rushed in to intervene, but all that only added to the chaos. Dumas, with his cold and ruthless precision, did not let anyone near. The moment seemed to last forever. The whole room held its breath as the gun barrel was still pointed at Victor, the one who had built up so many enemies and hatreds over the years that had never been resolved. Then suddenly, a gunshot rang out, bright and fierce, tearing apart all belief in the safety of that night's party. Victor collapsed on the floor, blood staining his luxurious suit, his face pale, his eyes still shining with the last steadfastness before everything fell into chaos. Nikki screamed, collapsed beside her husband, her trembling hands hugging Victor while his blood soaked her hands. Lauren burst into tears, Michael was stunned, the rest were both scared and desperate, watching the horrific scene unfold before their eyes without anyone being able to intervene. While everyone was still in shock, Dumas quickly took advantage of the chaos to escape. He slipped through the crowd, disappearing like a shadow, leaving behind him the sound of sirens, screams and painful sobs. The police were called just a few minutes later, and the entire Newman mansion was immediately sealed off. Police car lights flashed, emergency radios rang out continuously, and groups of police quickly deployed their formations, trying to track down the troublemaker. But Dumas, known for his quickness and cunning, had planned the perfect escape. He disappeared into the night of Genoa City, leaving behind an unprecedented emotional and painful battlefield. The police chased after him but only managed to see his figure disappearing around a corner behind the garden. All efforts to stop him were in vain. Curses, shouts, and arrest warrants rang out over the radio, but Dumas had already disappeared into the heart of the city, a predator that had just left a fatal wound on Genoa City's most powerful prey. Michael understood all of that, but his loyalty to Victor, the man who had saved his law career many times, was always what pulled him back. Victor knew Michael's weaknesses, knew how to arouse loyalty, mixed with a sense of indebtedness to make it impossible for him to refuse every time he was assigned impossible tasks. However, deep down, Michael never really wanted to trade his family's happiness just to meet Victor's every request. He loved Lauren, loved the home that they had built with all their losses and sacrifices, and Michael knew it was time to set clear boundaries for himself. As Nikki's birthday approached, Michael's inner conflicts became more and more obvious. Lauren repeatedly reminded and earnestly advised her husband that family happiness was more important than any power or career, especially when Victor always saw others as pawns in his power game. Michael did not want to see his wife continue to live in anxiety, and that was what made him decide to put an end to all the troubles. He would resign, submit his application to Victor, and spend the rest of his time mending and preserving his family. But was it that simple? Genoa City had never been a place where peaceful plans could go smoothly. Nikki's birthday party, which had been carefully and solemnly prepared, began with smiles, blessings, and sparkling lights. The Newman family members appeared in their flashy appearances, and close friends also came to celebrate. But in just a short moment, that warm atmosphere was torn apart by the appearance of a group of uninvited guests. They were not simply outsiders, but also represented the greatest threats, people who had a long-standing feud with the Newmans, or had long harbored the intention of revenge. Nikki was shocked to realize that among those people were the faces that had caused her and Victor pain. It was not just fear, but also true panic when realizing that all plans of control could collapse in an instant. Victor immediately stepped forward, with the demeanor of a man of experience, but everyone knew that inside he was seething with anger and worry for his wife. He could not have imagined that the party he wanted to hold to honor Nikki would become the arena for settling old grudges. The situation quickly turned from tense to chaotic. Threats, hateful looks, and pent-up conflicts all erupted. The Newman guests lost their composure, while Nikki could only silently watch the party turn into a nightmare. In that moment, Michael stood by Lauren, realizing even more that his decision was the right one. He did not want anything to hurt his wife, nor did he want the children in the house to be caught up in this dangerous vortex. As security forces were mobilized to control the situation, Victor realized that perhaps this was more than just simple revenge. He saw in the eyes of those uninvited guests a deep plan, a plot to overthrow everything he had built over the years. At that moment, Victor also had to face the truth that power could no longer protect everything he loved. Despite his careful planning, he could not control everything, and every mistake could cost him his family's happiness. That same night, Michael, as he had promised Lauren, officially announced to Victor that he would leave all missions, give up his dangerous job, and focus on family life. Victor, though surprised, could not object when he saw Lauren almost burst into tears of relief. Michael gave his wife a warm hug as a wordless commitment, while Lauren could only hold his hand tightly, feeling that for the first time in many years, they could truly live in peace without worrying about tomorrow. But in the end, Nikki's birthday party event became the highlight of a new series of changes in Genoa City. The echoes of that chaotic night still reverberate, leaving deep emotional wounds for the Newman family and related characters. Victor will not give up easily on his revenge, and after all, he is even tougher and more determined. Nikki, though still holding a firm position in Victor's heart, must face the constant worry about the safety of the whole family. Lauren and Michael can start a new chapter with the hope of reconciliation, but the past never leaves anyone alone in Genoa City. The May sweep has ended, leaving Genoa City soaked in the smell of danger, suspicion, and hatred. Who will truly be the master of the game? Who will be the next victim in the never-ending power battles? And will Michael's sacrifices and commitments to Lauren be enough to protect them from the storms that lie ahead? Everything has just begun, and Genoa City will never be the same. The atmosphere in Genoa City during the last days of May was already filled with calculations, suspicions, and insecurities when many old incidents had not yet been closed when new storms broke out. On the surface, Nikki Newman's birthday party should have been a moment filled with laughter, where close friends gathered to raise a glass to celebrate a resilient woman who had repeatedly risen from the storm. But at that gathering place, no one expected that the happy night would be torn apart by a terrible incident, turning the warm party into an unprecedented panic in Genoa City. From the beginning, Victor had put all his efforts into making this event one of the most memorable days for Nikki. He not only wanted to make up for his wife after the months she had spent fighting her trauma alone, but also wanted to affirm the unthreatening position of the Newman family. He carefully prepared every step, from the guest list, security, to the smallest details of decoration and menu. Every member of the family felt Victor's expectation, his anxiety, and his determination to protect Nikki. But the greater the expectation, the closer the risk of collapse. Just as everyone was immersed in the music, lights, and congratulations, a wave of unease spread throughout the room when Aristotle Dumas suddenly appeared. A man who had just arrived in Genoa City but had already spread fear to many powerful families. No one invited him, and no one thought Dumas would dare to openly confront Victor on the Newman family's territory on Nikki's birthday. Curious and wary gazes began to sweep around the room, each whisper growing louder as people saw Dumas quietly walking towards the center, carrying an arrogant air and an unpredictable dark energy. Nikki was stunned, her hand unconsciously tightening her wine glass as the music gradually faded. Her eyes were filled with fear and suspicion. She knew this appearance was an ominous sign, the ringing bell of some conspiracy. The warm atmosphere suddenly became thick and cold, as if a storm was about to blow away all the masks. Victor immediately realized the situation. He quickly signaled the security team to tighten the perimeter but still maintained a calm demeanor, gradually approaching Dumas. Behind Victor's cold demeanor was a rush of thoughts. Why did he dare to come here? What was his real purpose? And was there an assassination plan or a trap being deployed? The biggest question was present in his heart: will anyone among his loved ones be hurt? Victor had never been one to let anyone put him on the defensive, but Dumas's appearance made him extremely alert. Dumas did not speak, just glanced around the room, like a silent challenge to Victor. Many in the audience began to sense the danger. They realized that one wrong signal could turn everything into chaos. When Victor and Dumas' eyes met, the whole room held its breath, waiting for a fiery confrontation that could erupt at any moment. Nikki tried to stay calm, but deep inside her was a vague fear. Could Victor himself be the target of all this trouble? Memories of previous dangerous times suddenly flooded back, making her tremble even more. She had just wanted a peaceful birthday night, but now she was facing the greatest risk of loss. Some guests began to fear for their safety, some quietly left the party room, others silently pulled out their phones to alert relatives or security forces. Right in the middle of that vortex, Michael Baldwin, Victor's longtime loyal lawyer, was also struggling with an internal battle. For many days, Michael has been struggling between his responsibility to Victor and his love for Lauren Fenmore, his wife who has endured too much trouble because of the dangerous missions that her husband agreed to help Victor. The arguments between Michael and Lauren have become more frequent, each time more intense as Lauren feels that all her efforts to preserve her family can be destroyed by Michael's blind loyalty. This time, Lauren gives him a final ultimatum: either Michael chooses his family, or he continues on the dangerous path with Victor. She can no longer bear the feeling of living in fear every day, and cannot let the haunting things continue to overshadow their lives. Michael, after many sleepless nights, finally promises Lauren that he will resign, officially withdrawing from all the dangerous cases that Victor assigned to him. For Michael, this is not just a choice between two paths, but a daring to face himself, daring to sever the bond that has lasted for many years. However, he knew that resigning would certainly anger Victor. For Victor, loyalty was paramount, and Michael choosing his family over continuing to serve him would likely be seen as betrayal. Nevertheless, Michael chose to tell the truth, with the sole reason being that he wanted Lauren to be happy, not out of hatred or turning his back on Victor. He hoped that Victor would understand, but he was also mentally prepared for a harsh response. At the height of the chaos at the party, Victor had to split his attention between dealing with the threat from Dumas and Michael's change. He firmly warned Michael that those who abandoned him did not receive a good ending, and Victor did not forget to mention the old favors as a reminder of the price of betrayal. However, under the pressure of family and pride, Michael remained calm, trying to maintain his position, hoping that his sincere arguments would calm Victor's anger. However, Victor does not allow himself to dwell on Michael for long as the threat from Dumas becomes increasingly apparent. He immediately assigns Claire, a new ally full of courage and hatred, to secretly investigate Dumas' true intentions and plan for retaliation if necessary. He is determined not to let anyone ruin Nikki's happy day, and certainly not to let his opponent lose face in front of the public. Behind Victor is a loyal force ready to protect his family at all costs, and this time, he wants Claire to prove her ability by finding Dumas' weak point and taking action before his opponent can act. The party becomes more chaotic when rumors of a direct threat to Victor's life spread. Many people gossip that Dumas is not simply here to cause trouble, but has dangerous intentions, even assassination. The security force tightens the circle of protection around Victor, while he maintains a calm attitude and secretly signals Claire to be ready to intervene. Nikki anxiously watches her husband's every move, fearing that things could spiral out of control at any moment. The May sweep in Genoa City seemed to be coming to an end, but this event opened up a new series of dangers. The Newman family's connections began to show signs of cracking. Michael stepped out of Victor's circle of power, Lauren breathed a sigh of relief but still doubted a peaceful future. Claire took on a key role in the revenge plan for the first time, and Victor faced a major challenge, having to protect not only his own safety and Nikki's, but also maintain his authority in the eyes of everyone. In the following days, Genoa City was filled with rumors, veiled threats, shifting alliances, and sinister revenge. Who would be the next victim? Could Michael really escape Victor's shadow of power? And the arrival of Dumas, is it the beginning of a new era of conflict, or the death knell for an old power that is being shaken? Only time and the courage of each individual will answer, but surely after that chaotic night, no one in Genoa City will be as innocent or peaceful as before. The battles of power, love, loyalty, and betrayal will continue to sweep everything away, sending all destinies into a spiral with no way out, where Nikki's party is just the starting point for a series of tragedies and irreversible changes in the history of the young and the restless. The police are still searching for Dumas. Security camera footage has been extracted, roads in and out of the city have been blocked, but all efforts have been met with mysterious silence. Dumas, the man who dared to threaten Victor's life in broad daylight, has now become a name that haunts the entire upper class, causing everyone to reconsider their relationship with power and hatred. He is not only a troublemaker, but also a symbol of chaos, of the danger that threatens everything that seems most solid. Back at the hospital, Nikki still cannot take her eyes off the door of the intensive care room, hoping for even the smallest miracle. Michael, despite having decided to give up all danger, is now dragged into a new vortex of responsibility and worry for those he once considered his own. Lauren silently prays, hoping that the Newman family, and herself, will be safe after so many storms.